And Joan, at the beginning then, so the initial assessment of left and right tracking, you're looking for smooth eye movements, left and right. And
If you go through midline without anything.
Yeah.
And also too, what she's looking for, like this is tracking. So I go back and forth. So an immature brain will do this, the head will move. And then they'll should get to a point where they can separate that. That happens typically around a year of age. She'll correct me if I'm wrong. But what a lot of kids do is they do a follow.
That's following.
And
Not
the eye
tracking.
will jump, so they'll, and then, or lots of times too, or like it crosses midline. So let's say if I'm right eye dominant, I'll either have to go around like this to look at the object. So see how much more my head has to turn if I'm right eye dominant? And now this is just gone, it doesn't see it. Or they'll get to this point and it's just out of sight, out of mind, and then their concentration goes elsewhere. And then CVI is where the object comes into play, and it's almost like looking into the sun. And
They look and look away.
so they're processing. So it's at that time that you don't want to go, oh, here, because then they go, you know what I mean? So now they're pinging CVI. It's almost like, and then, or take the object away thinking, oh, they're bored, and then they come back and then they're like, it's like it didn't exist. So they don't have that processing time to make it into their brain. And that's, I think, the hardest thing for parents to deal with, because usually then you only want to stick with 1 or 2 toys for like sometimes 2 to 3 months, because it's a familiarity and you want the eyes to start working more. And that's where parents start pulling at all that. They got a black box and lights and whistles and all of this, and the kids like almost like being in a blender. Same thing with black and white. You don't want to use over dominantly, because, or like a light flashlight, because then they're forced to look at it, which is fine when you need it. Like she and I'll goof, like she's wearing a black and white striped shirt. Kind of not the best shirt to work with if kid with vision,
Right.
because they could just literally like it turns on and then they can't turn it off. So you don't want an infant with black and white bedding.
Yeah.
But for whatever reason, they're like, oh, sign of intelligence.
We had
look."
black aprons that we were supposed to
Yeah.
wear when we did evaluations.
I had a mom that was 10 times worse than you, even if it's possible. She did the training.
Worse than me how?
Oh, everywhere. So she would only feed her son feed her son in a salon apron against the wall. So it was like, she was all black, no cloth disruption. The spoon had lights in it. She had a light, like food had the flashing light. And she would wear, she found these light up lights, but it was like sunglasses. And she took the lenses out, and she would wear red lipsticks and sometimes a clown nose, just to get that eye hand like, oh yeah.
Okay, now I've suggested all those things, but never all at once.
Yeah.
It's insane.
It's quite, I know you put some stuff on Facebook today about it, but it's actually quite hard to find out this kind of information, I think.
This is nowhere.
No, this is what Diane
yeah,
and I are doing.
It's extraordinary, yeah.
Most people too, unfortunately, there's a very good doctor, Dr. Roman Lansky. However, everyone runs there, but really it's a real glamorous diagnosis. Like, no offense, by doing all this, anybody should be able to tell if their kid has vision issues, but it's how to work with it. So just to find out, again, okay, I have cerebral palsy or I have CVI, that's all well and good, but that's still not giving me, like, what do I do for my little Henry, or what do I do for my, and what we might do for one child is completely, some kids can't handle the complexities of the mirror.
Yeah.
Graham, for all he can do, cannot look at me in the eyes.
Yeah.
If I say, look at me, he's like, and he's getting better. And he'll kiss, but I'm the love of his life. Now, in a mirror, if you and I went like this and looked at a mirror, it's like nirvana for him, because he can actually look at me and not have that complexity.
Yeah.
But then if I go look in the mirror and look at me, what is that so different than in a mirror when I'm right next to him?
Yeah.
But that's just, the brain's funky.
And then again, when Diane was moving the object left and right, you were integrating my spine effectively into the movement. So
Well, that balance and counterbalance.
Yeah, absolutely.
But that's tomorrow. Of course, the one day I said, oh, I'm not going to need my PC, why bring it, and I could use it. But that's where I finally got her really on board. They do a slow-mo on the eyes, and he's like, why are my eyes wobbly? But especially on the Mac, you can see every move he makes, the eye will just very subtly just counter. And it's just, and I'm like, there's all my work proven physically. You can just, and he just moves, and the eye is that subtle. It should be. But again, too, now, if you have even just a slight stigmatism where the eye is just a little bit, and especially if it's being pulled out with a prescription, you not only have the eye contracting in, but then being forced out, so you have the double contraction going on. That will really, people get more migraines, all that neck drawn, all of this, bad backs, really just from that double crossing of the muscle. So to sit there and work with the stigmatism and stuff, and if you can show, again, where the eyes maybe go here and float. Now the low tone kids, and sometimes with the CP, they actually hold the head up with their eyes. You can see that in the picture with Graham. Do you want to get that, the black card there? But he literally is like this, and he's holding his head up with the eyes, or stabilized. No, there's the, so see how he's there? So it looks like but he's actually, the tongue is raised to stabilize the head, and the eye. So now you do that and try and stand up.
Yeah.
No, but
Yeah.
so when I say your kid's severely delayed because of the vision, and that, no, he's toned, or the hamstrings are over again. No, you just don't understand. It's such a issue. I'm on with, right now with a CVI. A big neurologist just told her there's no, tone has nothing to do with CVI. And I'm going, you're kidding me. You will not see a typical child with CVI. They always have tone, more so low tone, I think, than the high tone. But it goes, low tone doesn't help as much as the high tone. But again, if you're unstable, and that's why a lot of these kids too, Diane and I go to sitting through the center, because she'll be there right there, and it's so much easier to catch the horizon versus coming up to sitting this way. Well, if you're cross-eyed, they're just, they get up and the room's just spinning. Versus if I'm cross-eyed, to come up this way, and then my eyes can, let's say, settle and find you. And then, because if a kid can see, the world's their oyster. But if you've got vision and issues, there's so much more you're dealing with. So, and we just have just this beautiful little relationship thing, and we just,
I kind of know what she's going to do, and she knows what I'm going to do.
But we now just have to, I think, document this better.
Yeah. That's great.
But
And there it is.
So, yeah.
it's a half hour and she can run. I didn't think it would take that long.
Thank you very much, Dan. That's really
Thank you, Diane.
The Newborn Movement Assessment Guide is available at Amazon.com and at the newbornmovementassessment.com website.
By joining this exciting community, you will learn how to help infants from the moment that they enter the world and change the lives of countless children and families. Out of necessity to help a globally delayed child, Michelle Turner, Movement Integration Specialist, created Movement Lesson to benefit children throughout the world.